Better, Charlie.
What,
Can't you fix that?
Do not fucking tell me. Did she tell me to bounce the light?
Oh shit. You get really fired up when somebody challenges you, your expertise.
This is
you
my
asked
job.
for some fucking feedback, dude.
I wasn't done yet. I was just saying, wait, because that
you gotta
wasn't.
Tell me that shit.
All I was saying, it was the filter.
Probably
I didn't like.
You probably have to tell her that shit because I don't know what it is, man. She's in attack mode with you.
Okay, attack mode. Since you know so much, what is wrong with what's going on right now?
That one side of you is hot as hell, and the other side isn't.
It's still hot. No, it's not still hot.
Really? Because you look as white as an albino.
If you want to ask me my expertise. I think that you are very much, let me finish before you get excited. I think that you're very much the opposite of a really hot chick. It's true. Because, have you ever, Charlie, look at me. Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever met a hot chick? Or this could also apply to like a guy. Have you ever met somebody who they're really good looking, but then the more you get to know them, they have the worst fucking personality in the world and they become shallow to you? The more you know them, the worse they look. Have you ever had that when you meet somebody?
Yeah.
The more they talk and the more you get to know them, the uglier they get.
Yeah, for
sure.
You're
the exact opposite of that. Was that a good compliment?
Is that a compliment?
Well, do you think it is?
Okay, so what you're saying is
Karen's losing your shit over here. No. It's supposed to be really good.
So usually you see someone really hot, you get to know them, and you're like, fuck, you're ugly. You're saying when I've met you, you're fucking ugly, but now that I get to know you, you're kind of
Exactly. No. I wasn't really referring to your looks, Charlie.
I'll take it.
No, let me finish. Yeah, please turn the heater off. I'm not. Fuck. Like I feel like I'm in Hades. God damn. What, are you just starting a fire over there? Holy shit. Okay, no, Charlie. What I meant was to finish. This is what I meant. You, when I first met you, I didn't know how deep of a person that you were. Like I look at your bio, and as I've gotten to know you, now the bio comes after I've known you now for a while. But you're a lot more than your first appearance to me. As I've gotten to know you,
I still don't know.
You're actually a very deep thinker. You've got a lot more to you than you convey to people. Maybe you do that on purpose. That was my way of giving you a compliment.
Thank you.
Unlike the hot person or the person that it's really on the face of it, they're like really cool, good looking, whatever. But then the more you get to know them, it's like, God damn, they get ugly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I wanted to lead with that.
I appreciate
Welcome
that.
to the show, big boy.
Yeah, this is weird. This is weird for me to be on this side of serious
handle
growth. Yeah, let's do it.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so seriously, my comment in the beginning was very serious. I made it kind of funny, I think, but I was being very serious about that. There's more to you than meets the eye. I think that's a good thing because it's more like a pleasant surprise.
I like that.
Than a bitter disappointment. I mean, for me, that's the difference. But what I didn't really know about you that I'd like you to elaborate on, if you could, and again, I'm looking at your impressive bio, seriously, is that you're a musician, you're a cartoonist, so you're like a lot of things that you do. But I'd like you to tell me about your musical career. How did it start? Where did you go? Some of your highlights, some of your lowlights.
Okay. I grew up in a family that always had music around. Like we always had just a lot of bands like Prince, Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, like everything from like 60s, 70s, and 80s, And so I got into, and then my sister got into guitar, and she was really good, and she started playing bass a lot. And I started to practice with her with guitar, and we started a band. And then that band, we played at fairs, we played at bars, we played at some places in Hollywood, like the Whiskey A Go Go and all those famous clubs that all the bands that I grew up loving, that my family got me into, we started playing there. And then a lot of bad stuff happened. You said a lot of the lows, like drugs came into play, and just a lot of stuff. And we had like a record. I don't know what they're called. The people that sign bands, they're called something. You know what I'm talking about? They go and look for bands. We had a couple of those come out when we played the Hollywood show. Nothing really came out of it. And I lost myself, became a druggie, and then I left that stuff for a long time.
Let's stop right there, because that sounds like that ended your career to some degree. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I go back. I'm reflecting now. You're saying that you started a band. My family was very musically inclined. My dad played saxophone. My cousin played guitar. So we used to like get together, when we did as a family, we always brought our instruments, and then I guess you call that, we'd start jamming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we did that, and then at one point I thought, well, let's start a band, kind of like what you guys did.
Yeah.
And I would say that in order to get to the places that you got to, I mean, where was the most famous place that you played at, you think?
All those places in LA, Hollywood, I wouldn't know which one would be higher, but all those clubs are like, they all meant something to me. The fair may have been the coolest one.
Really?
No, probably the Whiskey. But the fair was really cool because so we around that time there was a lot of there was other scene or hardcore. That was, I know you wouldn't, it's kind of like a metal, like a subgenre of metal. And we played more like classic rock. You can't say you play classic rock, but we had more of that vibe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were not popular around here at all. That's why we would play at LA a lot. Over here is like the guys that had like look very girly, they had their hair to like the side and girl pants and stuff. Yeah. That was what was big here. And when we played at the fair, there was two bands that were playing before us that were part of that scene. And they had a good sized crowd, but when we played, the whole thing was filled. And then we also had to sign contracts and stuff that were basically like, you can't smoke, you can't cuss, you can't this
is like during your performance, you mean?
This is right before we had to sign contracts.
But I mean, it pertained to you being
yes, yeah. So we got on stage, and it was packed. We were the only ones that had it packed, so it was totally cool. We went into the audience, which you're not supposed to do. We started smoking on stage, which you're not supposed to do. We took off our shirts, which you weren't supposed to do. And then they told us we only had a couple more minutes, and the whole audience was like screaming for an encore. So we did an encore. So after the show, they told us that Black Rose could never play there again.
Say that again.
Our band was Black Rose, and they were like, after the show,
Really?
we got in big trouble. They're like, you guys could never play here again and stuff. And that was so cool to me.
It was cool for you. So you never played there again then, right?
No, we never played there again.
That is incredible.
But it was
I
fun.
wonder why. I mean, I guess maybe they did that because they, if they gave an inch to one band, then it could potentially get out of hand. I mean, why would they?
I think they just said it has to be very family or, family, like, yeah.
Oh, the fair.
Yeah, the fair. Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking that you're at the Whiskey and you can't.
No.
Okay,
the Whiskey, though.
At a family-friendly event.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
very
okay.
family friendly.
Oh, I
And
could. I
that
mean, I could sort of understand that.
yeah, it was our first time with a new singer. Like we just got him like 4 days before that show. So I think we were just like all excited and super young and just having fun, you know. You
Yeah.
know what's crazy about that singer story is no yeah, this is no, it's okay. Let's move on. The whiskey though was cool because we also had to go weeks prior and sign contracts as well. And I was like, "Can you smoke on stage?" And they were like, "No, you can't smoke on stage." And I was like, "Slash is gonna play here a week before us. Are you guys gonna tell him he can't smoke on stage?"
I was just
And then
gonna say that.
she put her
Yeah.
she put her hand on my shoulder and she's like, "One day you'll be able to smoke on this
You got
stage."
to earn your stripes.
And I was like, "Oh, that was so cool. It was cool."
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it's amazing to me that you got to that level. I'm curious how, sort of the road that you took to get to that level. I mean, like when I decided that I want to create a band, there was no lead singer. I mean, how did you guys figure out sort of the pecking order and how did that impact the dynamic of your band?
Okay, like
Somebody
who's
has to
playing
take
what?
the lead, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I had this girlfriend and her brother was a guitar player. And so I had a girlfriend, the guitar player was her brother, but I wasn't going out with her anymore. I just knew of him because of my ex-girlfriend. But then my sister also knew this guy. So they started jamming together. So then I went and jammed with them and I was playing drums and my good friend Dre was playing guitar. And you could just, his name was Randy. You could just see that he was like, ugh, he was a lot older than us. We were all like 17. He was like 24, 25. And you could just see on his face, like, he was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life." You know,
Really?
he was like, "I'm going to go use the restroom." And we were jamming for like an hour or two. He went to go use the restroom and me and Dre switched instruments. I was like, "Let me see the guitar." So he hopped behind the drums and we started playing and he like ran out and he was like, "This is how we're doing it." So that's kind of how I just started playing guitar because I've messed around with all instruments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I went to school. I did drums in school. Guitar was just something I messed around with at home. So then from then on out, it was like Dre on drums, my sister Danielle on bass, me on guitar, and Randy doing guitar and singing. And then we just practiced for a while. And when shows started coming up, my sister dipped. She didn't want to be like she's like, she helped write every single song I've almost ever have done, but she didn't want to ever play shows or anything. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, she's so like, she doesn't like attention on her. She'd probably hate that I'm even
Not even
saying that.
like the fair, nothing. She didn't want to be a fair. Is that
Nothing.
right?
And the only negative thing I have about the whiskey is when we got, or any of those Hollywood shows, when we got up there, I was like, man, because me and her grew up watching like my mom and dad telling us about all these bands. So then we would go and like get into them, and you just hear that all of them started their big start going up, you know, from those shows, the whiskey and stuff. Like that's where they all started. The Doors, Guns N' Roses, and it bugged me that she wasn't on. I was like, you wrote all these songs. You should have been on stage with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You wrote with us all these songs.
So, in a band, because I love music. I watched a lot of documentaries on bands. I think it's fascinating as to how these bands, how they progress or don't, because it seems that there's a really short, I would, and correct me, it seems like there's a very short lifespan of bands. And every once in a while you get the ones that do make it, but it seems like even with those big bands that have made it, they seem like they fight like dogs, or there's a lot of drama in bands. Is that pretty common?
Yeah, we were in high school, and it was so typical. Like, so we were a band for maybe 2 years, and it was like 1 year high school, 1 year not, and it was very very like, you could have made a movie. Everything that you see in those things happened. We had there was one time I tried very hard to not drink or do anything at first, you know, but then I started going down that road. And I mean, people sleeping with people's girlfriends, waking up like where you don't, like, I would wake up and be like, the house was a disaster. And I was like, man, we must have had a party or something. And you go out into the front yard and we had like this fire pit, and this is when we were still in high school. There was like brawls everywhere, like on the fire pit and stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, what happened? Like crazy stuff, crazy like everything, all those typical cheesy music movies. It all happens. It's all crazy like that.
Okay.
We were good friends with strippers. Like it was crazy. It's like,
I mean, on one hand, I can see how that could happen, but it seems like the mentality or what happens, because I've heard these stories like where bands will go to hotels, some of these I don't know, bigger bands maybe that are traveling, and they tear the hotel rooms up and they're just like out of control. And I mean, is that mentality, is it like an all or nothing behavior, and like, you know, you're above the all laws and nobody's going to tell you exactly how to act or do anything like that? I mean, it seems like it's just very extreme behavior.
So we usually would go somewhere and then come back the same day. So we never really stayed in hotels, but we did get a house together. And then after we moved out of the house, we would jam at our manager's house, and we fucking destroyed both of those houses. Like when, so like in our house, when we all lived together, it wasn't like we never like in our like intentionally was like, we're going to fuck this house up. But one, we always smoked in there when we jammed. So when we left, the walls were yellow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two, we would start drinking and jamming. And then at the end of the night, we would be like, let's see who could stick a knife into the wall. So we would like make a hole, and then we would just start throwing like pocket knives at the wall. And then like, as time goes on and on, it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
So would you say it's a fair statement to say that you guys wouldn't have probably thrown a knife in a wall unless you were under the influence of something?
Yeah, for sure. I think we were all pretty respectful when we weren't, you know?
Yeah. And I'm wondering, I saw the documentary on, who was that guy that sang, "Don't You Love Her Madly"? The Doors? Who's the lead singer for the Doors? He killed himself at 27.
No. Did he die too? Or well, no, I know he died, but I mean, did he kill himself? Jim Morrison?
Yes. He ended up in a bathtub, and he died in the bathtub. So it was like he was there was a group of 27-year-old people that died kind of around the same time. Well, they all died at 27.
Forever
Jimi Hendrix
27.
was another one.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
And, it's called Forever 27. Like
yeah.
Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain. Yeah.
And that was, so it was Jim Morrison, right?
Yeah.
But so many of these people that are in bands, at least back then, they used to get high and they used to take these hallucinogenic drugs because they claimed that they were more creative when they were under the influence. Is that something that's true, or how much hype is that?
Can we say anything?
This is a fishbowl. We say everything and anything. Nothing's off the table.
Okay, so I haven't really, a lot of people don't know this. So everybody knows that I was a drinker and a smoker, like pot, because that's how I was in high school. But when we started jamming and stuff, I got into coke, and like very fast. It may have been the second time I did it and I was jamming. Immediately after that jam, everybody was like, because I was rhythm guitar. I was just a rhythm guitar player. They moved me to lead guitar, and that's what I really felt. That's when things started changing with me and the other guitar player, and things started going really downhill really fast. But yeah, so to answer your question,
why is that? Tell us why that is. Why did it go downhill really fast? And wait, before you answer that question, who is the person that decided that you needed to go from rhythm to lead guitar?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody but that guy, because he was the lead, and he was the older one. He was the lead. He was always like very much like, it's my way or no way, you know. And I did drugs, or I did coke, and I think it definitely made me play guitar better. Like 100%.
Did it like expand your? I mean, I got the feeling like with Jim Morrison, it was just like it expanded my creativity, like to know it wasn't even close to when I was sober. type
Yeah,
thing.
I didn't have to think anymore. It was just like kind of playing itself. Like it just, does that
But
make sense? Like
yes,
it was
I
just
do.
like,
Yeah, it does. But coke isn't something unless again, maybe I'm thinking that it was just the hallucinogenic drugs that made your creativity expand. I mean, coke is not
no,
hallucinogen, right? But you're
no.
saying that it made you play better. So what did it
hmm
do
It,
exactly? Because I don't know.
I don't know if it was just the confidence. I don't know what it was. It was
Oh,
just, you know what I mean? I don't
yeah.
know. It was just weed, coke, and pills just made me like, I was just
I
playing
guess
better.
I guess that's that old saying, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were right there, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I'm curious. Is there ever somebody in the band sort of dynamic in that structure? Is it ever, because when I think of a guy who's the lead in the band, I'm thinking of lead singer. When I think of the leader of the band, now, do you have leaders of the band that are drum players that don't sing and they're the actual leader of that band?
I think it's possible. I think usually it is the singer, but so like I said in ours, it was the older guy that was the singer at first, and he played lead. But then over time, I always felt like I don't like when the person's playing an instrument and singing, because no matter if it's guitar, bass, or drums, because then besides just singing, the lead singer needs to be the one entertaining the crowd. And if you're
Yeah.
trying to entertain the crowd and sing and you're playing an instrument, I just feel like that's too much. So I wanted to get just a singer. So when we brought the singer in, it was already so late in the band. There was no way he was going to be the leader. You get what I mean? So, so it was the older person always try to put himself into that leader position. But I think everyone always turned to me, as if I wasn't going to be there, it wasn't going to. Almost everything I've done, if I'm not there, the rest of the people aren't going to do it. Do you get what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I tell you, that's a tough place to be in a band. Like when you are, for example, in that guy's position. I mean, I don't necessarily think that he didn't belong to be displaced. I don't, but it's kind of like with you. If Charlie doesn't become a lead singer, the rest of us are going to leave.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a deal to, I guess maybe that's why bands break up so much and so soon. Is it because of that dynamic?
I definitely think that's one of them. I think there's a lot. It's like a toxic marriage. That's a band for sure. Because when you're into music and you make songs, you start taking that like a child. Like that's your fucking baby.
Your baby.
So if someone tries to put an input, if somebody tells you they don't like it, it's as bad. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
There's like like everybody, like I never hooked up with anybody's girlfriend, but it was definitely a thing in the band. Like, so then that brought in problems, drugs brought in problems, like everybody wanting to be like, like me and the other guy being the leaders brought there's like just so much, just a toxic relationship times 100.
But do you think that in some bands that the tension of all that makes better music?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It gives an edge. I could see how that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
A certain edge, like, I hate this son of a bitch, but brings out the best of my music type thing. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I could almost see how that could be.
There's definitely times in writing music and live, like, so the last show we ever had, we were broken up for a couple months before our last show. We got back together and it was super weird and strange, and I agreed to do it even though I didn't want to. And then at the last minute, everything switched about what we were supposed to do. Everything. And I was like, this is exactly, yep. And so when we're talking about certain things, I wasn't supposed to go at the end of one of our songs. I used to go into like a little jam of Jimi Hendrix song, Voodoo Child, just like a quick to end the song. And he was like, don't do that. We're going to do this and that and this and that. I was fucking pissed. So at the end of it, I just went into it. And I think live, I was always that person that would bring my anger into the live shows, and I think it made for cool moments.
Like what exactly did you do? How did you bring your anger to it?
So, well, do you want to know the whole story? So
you tell me what you want to tell me, because I'm fascinated by by the dynamic of a band, because it just my perception of what I've watched and listened to is that most bands are at each other's throats,
Yeah.
and yet they make some fantastic fucking music. So
Okay.
exactly what did you mean by that?
Okay, I'm gonna go real fast back into this moment. So we played the fair. It was a great show. We were in the newspapers and stuff like for 2 days. We got kicked out of that forever, but it was a good show. Our first show with the singer. 2 weeks later, we were playing at the Whiskey A Go Go, and I'm gonna try to go so fast on all these. Okay, so we start practicing for that, and then it comes up. That was the first time I didn't want to do drugs anymore. Like I wanted to remember this show, like really, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was pretty separated from the band, and we drove up there together. But once we got there, we all kind of did our own thing. We had to meet up at a certain time to do sound check. We did sound check. They had to kick people. It was not crazy amounts. I'm not trying to say that, but some people started coming in while we were doing sound check, and some of the older bands, because we were super young compared to a lot of the other bands, you know, they were coming out to listen to us, and they had to like tell the people they couldn't come in yet and stuff. It was so fucking cool. And then we left, and then now it was time for the show. I walk in there, the guitar player is like sitting with his girlfriend in the dressing room, and just gives me like this stupid look. And then no one else is there though, and we're like 30 minutes from show, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be good. And yeah, and then the singer comes running in, and he's like, the bass player's really messed up. I need your help. So like we run outside, and I'm trying to get him, and he starts throwing up like everywhere but the sidewalks, like going downhill. So like the like throw ups going down, and then we have to keep on stopping and like patting his back, and like his throw ups like meeting us. We get inside, and I go to the bar to get him some water, and our drummer was at the bar, so I got him. So we all go backstage. We're trying to calm down the bass player and stuff, and then I definitely had one of those movie moments, like the guy with the headset with the little clipboard comes in.
Yeah,
and he's like, you guys got 10 minutes, Black Rose, 10 minutes. So I was like, I'm gonna go take a piss. I go take a piss. The bathroom's like all shitty and cracked, and a like broken mirror, and I like throw water on my face. I'm like, okay, this is make or break time, you know, like this is it. I go back. The drummer's like just like in the air, just like, you know, getting warmed up. The bass player is like talking to the singer. The guitar player, like his girlfriend's like massaging him, and I'm like, this is so fucking cool, dude. Like, and then the guy comes, and then the guy comes in. He's like, you guys got 30 seconds, let's go. So like we start going, and it's like now like my anxiety is like do, you know. And we start going down. We go down all these stairs because we're in the backstage area, and then you could start hearing the audience, and then the lights like turn down, so they're leading you to the stage with the flashlight. And then
this shit's getting real now.
Yeah, the drummer goes on stage first, but the stage is completely black, and he just goes like tss, tss, tss. And then the music starts. We all like jump out from behind stage, the lights hit you, and then that's when all my anxiety goes away. You know, I'm hiding behind the guitar. I could be myself. And then we end the first song, and all I hear is, and I was like, what is that? And I look behind us, and our bass player just straight passed out.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
oh no. So we had to get him up and stuff. And then we played the rest of the show is pretty good. The last show though, the other guitar player, the one, his guitar starts messing up or something, and he just smashes his guitar, makes a big old scene, breaks his guitar. That wasn't his. It was actually my ex-girlfriend, which will end up being my future wife later on, her guitar. Woo! And so then, a week later, we have another show at locally at a bar in Tulare. But at the time, there was 2 bands coming up. There was us and another band called 6 Ounce Gloves. And so this was a big show to me because they were pretty popular, and so this was their crowd, this was their home. So I was like, hey, we need to go in there, and we just need to turn some of their fans into our fans. You know what I mean? That's what I would always tell them. We would always talk before a show, and I was like, they were like, these people are here for us, and I was like, yeah, but there's people that don't care about the people that are here for us. That does nothing for us. See the other people that aren't here for us. We need to turn one of them every show. You know what I mean? Forget the people that are here for
that's
us.
how you, in my mind, that's how you organically build your base, right?
Yeah. Forget the people that are there for you. They don't do nothing. They're already there.
In my opinion, that takes a lot of discipline and have deep enough thinking to realize that, you know, because you're talking on some of your people in that band. It's like, well, why should we? They're here for that band, not us. But you saw it in a different way.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
a lot smarter, I think.
So now I'm getting sick though, because I haven't been doing anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting sick, and so the guitar player and his girlfriend are there first again, and I'm like, hey, dude, I really don't feel good. So do you think you could do like the solos? Can you be lead tonight? And he's like, whatever Shake wants, Shake gets. That's what they called me back then, was Shake, you know? So I was like, oh, fucking here we go, dude. Can you do it or not? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need all this. Then the bass, I can't remember who, they all started showing up late though. The drummer again, the bass and the singer. The bass and the singer were always together. The drummer was he was my really good friend, but at that time I was trying to get clean and stuff, you know what I mean? So they all show up late. This is a paid gig. We start playing one song. We're already late on stage too. We start playing one song and the guitar player's guitar starts messing up again. This is a different guitar now and it's messing up. So he's like, hey, let's call the show. We get together after the song, you know? He's like, hey, let's call the show. And I was like, dude, we're not calling the show. He's like, my guitar is messing up. And I look out and just everybody's looking at us like, yeah, look at these little kids not knowing what they're doing. I was like, dude, we're not calling the show. So I just start going into the next song. And of course, everybody follows me, you know? Yeah. So he played like maybe 2 more songs. And then he just, once again, like, so we're not even almost done yet. We're like maybe getting to the middle of our set. He just throws his guitar down and walks off stage.
Holy shit.
So we like
unprofessional.
So everybody asked me, like, do we call it? And I said, we could do these songs without him. Like, we could do them. So we play a couple more songs and we end up calling it. We go to get paid. And guess what?
No money.
Yep. They said, oh, your guitar player already took the money.
Oh, really?
So
but did he?
He did. I've never talked to him about that again. So I went to a couple more practices and I was kind of just like sitting back and listening, and I'm like, this is where we're at. This is how we sound. And the guitar player wasn't showing up anymore at all. So we had another guitar player that used to play with us this is such a long story, Leo, so sorry, it's not all gonna we had another guitar player after my sister that came and joined for a while and it didn't work out. We called him back and I just wasn't digging it. Nothing wrong with him, I just wasn't digging it. It wasn't the same. I wasn't happy with how we sounded, how everybody was. So I basically told the drummer, like, hey, if we can't get our shit together, like as in drug wise, I don't want to be part of it. And so I left for a long time. I went on my mom's couch and could not move for like a month. Like I was just coming down and I was like, I would just like basically like cry to her, just sweating like every day, Leo, on that couch. Like I'm gonna die.
You were somebody who was detoxing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were probably depressed and all kinds of emotional shit going on, right?
Yeah, I had to go to counseling and stuff for a while. Like I was fucked. I was just fucked. And so then out of nowhere, I get a knock on my door. I'm starting to do better now. This is months later, and it's the guitar player. And he's like, oh, no. So right before this, I started another band, which was basically all the songs that got turned down. I just started playing those songs. Like, fuck you, these songs are good, and I'm gonna do it, you know. And I played one show, which we've lightly talked about. It was the one that I was the singer, and I just wanted to get out there and play again, and it was fun. And so, like a week or two after that, he came to by my house. He's like, I heard you play. I didn't get out, but I parked around the corner, and I could hear you. You sound good. You look really good. What do you think about getting the band back together? So I was like, it was weird how we met up. Everything about it was weird. And sorry, Leo. And so I was like, yeah, let's get back together. So we had so only me, him, and the drummer came back. The other ones were too messed up.
Yeah.
We got a keyboard player now. We got a new bass player, and we got a new singer. And we practiced that way for a month. We were going to have a show at the PPAV hall. And we practiced that way for a month, like 3 days a week. And then the day of the show, hours before, he called me and he was like, I don't want the singer. I'm going to sing. I don't want the bass player. He's not fitting my image. And I was like, well, who's going to play bass? He's like, we'll have the keyboardist play bass. So I was like, so we're not having a keyboard player anymore. A different bass player that's never practiced, and you're going to play and you're going to sing and play guitar. He's like, no. I'm going to sing. I just want you to play guitar. And I was like, we've never practiced with one guitar. So yeah. So I went back to drinking that night, got hella fucked up, did the show. And that's the story of that show.
And did that end your career?
That was it. That was when I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So right around that time, I started jamming with friends for fun. Like they were like, hey, I got a studio. Let's just record for fun. Yeah. So it was basically the same thing again, though. I felt like I was doing 80% of the work, and I would write the songs and they would just record it with me.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I don't want to do all the work to not be credited for all the work, but I was doing it to play. But it was right around when Michael Jackson died and stuff, because I remember that being on the news. Like a day or two after or before, I was trying to quit smoking for like the 100th time, and they all went. I was just smoking. I wasn't doing drugs anymore, like just smoking cigarettes. They all went for a smoke break, and I stayed in. I went on YouTube, and I found a couple of videos that changed my life. And one was the Joker blogs, and one was the guy we had on here, that Batman one. Yeah. I saw those, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you could do this? You can make movies? So I thought, fuck this music thing. If I can make movies by myself, that was the biggest thing I had wrong in my life. Because in a band, you only need 5 people, you know? But I thought it was 5 too many. I thought if I went to the movie world, that it would just be me. I didn't know in movies, you need not 5, you need like 100.
Yeah, even more.
Yeah, but that's basically right there. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I think I want to go down the movies road.
It's interesting because I would imagine that you getting into music, there was a certain amount of, you did it because you were passionate about that. Would you say that?
Yeah, for sure. Sadly, after that, Leo, I would listen to music, of course, you know, everybody does, but it was not there anymore until just this year. Just now, you see when I come in, I always have a headphone in there. Like if I'm probably up 18 hours a day, 19 hours a day. 15 of those hours, there's music going on. Yeah. Like even when I'm hanging out with people, I have one headphone in. Like I'm so in love with music again. Like so in love, but it destroyed me. It destroyed.
Well, you know, I would think that because, you know, I can only speak from my own experiences where when I came from a dairy family, and in our culture, it's like the dairy is left to the next generation, but it wasn't something that was in my blood. You know, and then when I got into something like I am now that I'm passionate about, and I have been for, 38 years, I can never see myself doing anything else. So to walk away from it. And, I almost did because I was going through some bad times and a divorce. And I just thought, I just need a clean break and maybe do something completely different because too many things are reminding me of, why I'm frustrated right now. And I lost that love for it, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And that would be heartbreaking. And maybe some people that are listening to this may not really understand that. But if you find something that you have that you're completely in love with, and then it's out of your life. I mean, think of it in another way, having somebody that you love as a human that you really, really love and they're gone. They're just gone. It's pretty hard to take.
It is. I think.
Yeah. And yet you made that choice probably. It sounds like for the best, I'm guessing. But is that when you got into, which I'd like you to talk about, being a cartoonist and how that relates to social media, marketing, and being a skateboarder, for fuck's sake?